Hey everyone, welcome back to the We Aim to Slay self-care series. My name is Taylor.
And I am so very because tonight I have not only an incredible woman as our guest, but someone who is a dear friend of mine. I adore her and I've known her for several years, but you know what? I like to let people introduce themselves. So I've sent the invitation. If you've been here before, you know I have trouble with this, getting my connections to my guests, but we're going to do our best and forget the rest. Okay? In the meantime, hello. Hello!
Hello.
It
Wait.
worked! Oh my gosh! Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm trying to figure out how
Let me
to
see if I
hold
can get the
it
volume up.
straight. Hold on, it got messed up.
That's
That's my
weird.
dog.
Hi, puppy!
Okay, I'm gonna X out and try again.
Okay, sounds good. There's always something with Facebook, right? That's okay. So this is super silly. I can hear my mom watching it from the other room.
Hi.
Hello again.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm sideways though.
You are straight on in the camera's view. So if you are not bothered by it being sideways.
Okay. Let me see if I could.
Okay.
Oh, no. Okay, do I look straight on now?
You are turned sideways, but honestly, like it's whatever. It's what you have to say that's more important. And I struggle with this thing every single time. So the fact that you were able to connect so quickly, I'm happy.
Now is that good?
Now you're upside down,
Oh no.
which is visually very funny.
Okay, tell me when it's good. I'm gonna keep turning.
You're right side up now.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep it here, even though it doesn't look right side up for me, as long as it looks that way for you.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing extra because I can still hear my mom watching this from the other room and she's laughing at us, laughing at each other.
I think because I don't remember the last Facebook Live, but it must have been from my laptop because I don't have this problem with Instagram usually.
Honestly, I think I need to stop doing this on Facebook, but whatever. We'll get to that.
But yeah, if you think my face is gonna be standing the right way in the video, then I think we're good.
Yeah, you're perfect, love.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
Stacy can comment for us too and let me know if it looks like I'm correct in her view.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see the comments on this one. It's already started off great. All right, so I literally just introduced myself. I hadn't even gotten to your introduction. If you'd like to introduce yourself and tell everybody a bit about you.
Sure. So my name is Serena. I know Taylor through pageantry, so that's going to be a large part of what we probably both talk about today, and even as it relates to self-care. I'm also a licensed master of social work, and I graduated from the UConn School of Social Work a little over a year ago. So I've been working full-time in the field while also balancing being Miss Connecticut Volunteer, which is a very volunteer involved title. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be preparing to compete for Miss Volunteer America this June. So there is a lot going on, but all very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to get first into your volunteer efforts because I know that a lot of what you do also stems around your work and what you do in social work. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I can tell you my involvement in volunteerism from pageantry over the past 10 years now, I think. It really, I think, is what inspired me to get into social work in the first place, which is really cool that it helped out so much with my career. About 10 years ago, I took an AP Psych class when I was in high school, and that was around the same time I was starting to get a little more interested in pageants, and I created Wings for Wellness at that point with the symbolism of a butterfly, just thinking about how we're all capable of change and growth, and it's just a beautiful symbol. And I love butterflies. And it started out very small. I remember being so nervous going to my after school program that they called Latchkey, and I'd volunteer to work with the elementary schoolers. And I just talked very generally about mental and physical wellness, and that we would do a lot of coloring and discussing. And it really took off from there. It's been years of it evolving, and most recently, of course, I'm a social worker now. And when I was going through my undergrad and graduate school, what kind of pulled me into this direction was Wings for Wellness, really, because I was doing these presentations in schools and after school programs where I was really trying to emphasize the importance of recognizing your strengths and also knowing who you can talk to that's around you for support. So all of that combined actually gives you like the theory of resilience that we use within social work practice. And going to school for social work, it just made me so much more excited to get involved in the community with the crown on and without it on. So it just ties in so well to my career. And going into job interviews post grad school and before I graduated, I was lucky to have two. Wow, I looked at your volunteer service on your resume, and I love how involved you are in Wings for Wellness and how this is something that you do because you love it. So that's kind of how it ties into each other. And I know that you have your self-care series now too. If you want to talk to us a little bit maybe about what your platform or initiative looks like and kind of your hope with the self-care series.
Yeah, for sure. So the self-care series kind of started as a conversation with my mom.
Mhm.
We're a pageant family.
Mhm.
And you're right, now that you mention it, so much of my volunteer efforts tie in with getting
Mhm.
involved in pageantry, especially like I started competing, I just realized almost 20 years ago, which makes me feel really old. And I know I'm not old, but saying I don't like judging my life in decades. It's kind of crazy. Um, where like your community service was like part of your score. Like you couldn't even
Yeah.
check into the pageant without bringing like a donation for either, like a rescue or a
Mhm.
shelter or Toys for Tots, like some of like the bigger, well-known sort of organizations, charitable organizations, for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
Um, so when talking through my mom, when we were both at the time holding titles, kind of about balancing doing so much volunteer effort,
Mhm.
and like putting so much of ourselves into our communities, into our personal preferences. Like my mom does a lot of work with like younger people and
Mhm.
animals, and I like to do a lot of environmental cleanup based things, and then also sort of like through the self-care series and through We Aim
Mhm.
to Slay as like a blog and as a brand, kind of promoting just being yourself
Mhm.
really and like living your most authentically. And so the idea of balancing giving so much of who you are
Mhm.
with taking care of yourself and finding ways to kind of like replenish the cup you pour from,
Mhm.
that idea of like, okay, how do other people in our industry find the time for themselves? And that I think is like a big misconception,
Mhm.
I'm sure you can understand, about pageantry in the
Yeah.
first place. People who are not part of this industry have this idea of us based on what they see on TV or online that we're a certain way.
Yeah.
And some of those things, like, sure, every stereotype stems from some sort of observation. Someone must have done it somewhere,
Mhm.
but like, there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes. Like, especially, we're both prepping for pageants this
Mhm.
year. You're competing in June, I'm competing in July.
Mhm.
So much of that process, yes, has to do with walking and finding the cute outfits, but that's like the easiest part of this prepping
Mhm.
process. We're spending hours working on our interviewing skills, our paperwork. I have personal intro. I know you have talent, so
Mhm.
you're drilling that. That's another level of physicality. So, this whole kind of concept of self care and balancing how we take care of who we are as a pageant title holder, who we are at work, or if you're going to school, that whole idea of like taking a pause and taking care of yourself.
That is so important too. And when you think about people who aren't familiar with pageantry as well, it really is so true that the volunteer work goes unnoticed a lot of the time. Unless you're in it and you're seeing title holders in dresses. Maybe they've watched Miss Congeniality, which is a great movie, by the way,
Oh, it's
but
one of my
they don't
favorites.
understand maybe the mental preparation that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
I was crowned in July, and this whole year I've been doing my best as Miss Connecticut Volunteer and thinking forward as well to Miss Volunteer America. But it extends so far beyond this year because, like I said, over the past 10 years, it's been this journey of myself building confidence and being able to speak on stage, sing on stage, do the walk and the talk, which is not easy, and being able to grow your service initiative too and what's important to you. So it's great that you have this focus on self-care because sometimes people who are the most busy or try to give the most to others too are the ones that really need that reminder. It's okay to take some time for yourself.
Absolutely. And especially, and this is something I really didn't even occur to me until I started doing this and having these conversations with people, is
Mm-hmm.
there are so many ways to take care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're doing sort of the more physical based, like exercising, or, just trying to make healthier food choices, or the other half of the physical side, which is my personal favorite, like face masks. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I do my nails at home. That's like that's time for me, putting on my makeup.
Yeah.
Some people journal, some people they pray, like there's so many things that you can do to just take even 10 minutes out of each day just for yourself, and just do something that you like. Like I have a lot of siblings, as you know, but for
Mm-hmm.
anybody who doesn't know, and when they call me to say like, everything feels crazy, I'm always like, okay, well, have you done your designated activity? Like, one of my
Mm-hmm.
sisters is a painter. Whenever she calls me, I'm like, okay, well, when was the last time you painted? And she's like, you know what, now that you mention it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so go paint something,
Mm-hmm.
anything at all, and then call me back, tell me how you feel. And it's sort of just like taking that time. It's so important to take that time, which I'm sure you understand, with your entire life
Mm-hmm.
literally focused on helping other people.
Yeah. Self-care, if you don't put that into your schedule, you will crumble, unfortunately, at some point because there's only so much we could do giving out without
Mm-hmm.
refilling that cup, like you're saying. I'm somebody who gets up, especially now with how busy I am, very early for the gym. I have a great personal trainer too who's helping me get ready for this pageant that motivates me to get my butt up at 4 a.m. so I can get there in time for our sessions. But even though you know, getting enough sleep is important, and I do prioritize that as well. But getting up early doesn't feel like work for me. It feels like I'm giving myself that time because when I'm in the gym, I'm working out, or we also have a great sauna to breathe and do meditation in. That's my time, and I'm not thinking about anything else in that moment, but just on how I'm feeling in my body and being present in that moment. Usually activity for me has always been a great form of self-care. I took the initiative to try a new sport this past year, which I've known to be very uncoordinated with anything aside from my own limbs trying to play a sport. But I did start playing recreational volleyball with my friends, and that has been really fun. Even though I'm not the best, I also have gotten a little bit better. And it's an opportunity to socialize while also get moving. It's on Tuesday nights, and I never realized how much that would positively impact my week going from sitting behind a desk to a Tuesday night when the weather's nice, being outside and just being around people and having fun for an hour or two. So it's really important, I think, to plan out how you're going to fit in that time during the week because we only have so many hours. And for those of us that are really busy, there needs to be more thought into how we're organizing that. And we don't get to do as much of that kind of go with the flow as maybe we would like to sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know for me also, I have like a bad habit of just like scheduling things back to back to back. And like, yeah, maybe I will take into consideration how long I actually need like to travel the distance from these things, but I don't ever take into consideration like a bathroom break, a
Mm-hmm.
food break, and like, God bless my mom, because she is more than willing to come with me everywhere, and that woman always has snacks in her bag. And like, I just need some, like, I need a person, you
Mhm.
know, to just kind of be like, hey man, did you eat today? Because that is self-care too, you
Mhm.
know, and like that's that aspect of like caring for ourselves, caring for others. That sort of, I it is being altruistic, but I
Mhm.
hate to describe myself that way because that sounds like very presumptuous. But I mean, like, you have to have that kind of altruistic spirit to kind of want to do so much for other
Mhm.
people, you know? And like, so this past year, I started volunteering with a group called S.E.R.V.E, which
Mhm.
teaches surfing because, like you, decided to pick up a new sport as a more of an adult, which was surfing for me. I did that I started learning during the pandemic. But this is an organization that teaches surfing to people who are differently abled and veterans, and it is life changing. I've done it twice now. I can't wait to get back. I think their season starts in like May, June time, because there's like literally nothing brings me more joy than seeing the joy on their faces while they're able to just basically just spend a day at the beach and just try something new. Like you're saying, like you don't realize how much trying something new
Yeah.
can bring fulfillment to yourself, whether you're the person trying something new or you're helping someone else try something new.
Mhm.
It's very freeing.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I would agree for sure. I think that's part of what makes me love my job so much, which ties into my service initiative too. But being a therapist and now working directly with clients, getting to see them start to open up more or manage their emotions better, is a great feeling. And then in return, I'm practicing that self-care too by going to therapy myself, because most therapists have their own therapists, because I want to make sure I can be the best possible version of myself too when I'm helping my clients. So I work to normalize that as best as I can with my Wings for Wellness presentations. Most recently, something that just was an awesome moment was visiting a Girl Scout troop. And I went through my Wings for Wellness. We talked about how to make I am statements with our feelings, how to recognize our strengths, and made our decorative butterflies. And a mom came up to me and she was like, this was so needed right now because my daughter just started therapy and was feeling so embarrassed about it. I believe she was either beginning of middle school or end of elementary school. And she was like, having you come in here with your crown and sash and talking about all these great things you do, but then also saying, I do struggle with anxiety, or, therapy's okay and that you shouldn't be ashamed of it. Being able to talk about your self-care too can really help other people and help normalize that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's amazing that you're working with such young people because they are like, not to sound weird, right? But we got to like catch them while they're young, you know?
Mhm.
Like, and right now I'm working as a para in a high school,
Mhm.
and this is my third school year, and you don't realize kind of like how much young people just need to know like someone's there, someone
Yeah.
cares, someone's willing to listen. Like, I don't know. Some of the things the kids tell me sometimes, I'm like, I'm not sure you guys should be telling me that you saw so and
Yeah.
so kissing this other person. Like, I don't know that I need to know that, but I love that you guys trust me enough to be willing to tell me these things. And
Mhm.
like this school year, one of the seniors actually came to me and asked me to be the academic advisor for their culture and diversity club. So now we've been meeting for the last couple months, and those kids are awesome.
Oh.
Like our group is pretty small, but I look forward to those meetings like every single time.
Mhm.
And I know that they do too because they stop me in the halls and they're like, "When are we meeting next?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, you guys. Like we got to figure it out. We've got to make sure that the space is clear. Like, but it's just like it, it's almost cyclical. We're giving to these people, and their ability to then get through whatever they're dealing with gives back to us.
Yeah, kind of being maybe that person for ourselves that we needed, right, growing up.
Yeah.
Um, because we know that kids need kind of that support and validation, and just somebody maybe who's a little bit older and that aren't our parents, because we don't always listen to our parents, but somebody who we could see maybe as someone we look up to telling us it's okay that you're feeling this way, or I get it. It can
Yeah.
make such a huge difference.
Yeah, really, it's that like sense of wanting to belong, isn't it? You know, we just want to know that like what we're going through, while our experience is unique to us,
Mhm.
like it doesn't make us different.
Right.
It kind of just helps to unify us. We're all going through our own version of it. Now, the experience itself is always different because we're all different,
Hmm.
but the overarching feelings behind it, we can all connect because of those things. We've all experienced them one way or another.
Yeah, definitely.
This is what I love about these, right? Because we just, that was one question and then it
Yeah, I
just
don't
kept
know where
going.
we start.
I don't either. I know. Well, so we kind of started with, no, your work as like a social worker and how like your Wings for Wellness sort of grew out of pageantry. So I'd love to hear how you actually originally got into pageantry.
Yeah, so it was never on my radar. Um, my mom actually had competed in pageantry for a couple years, so she had her crown and sash in the basement, and she encouraged me growing up to, put on fun dresses, and she was like, "Wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be so cute if you did something like this?" But unfortunately for her, I was the kind of person who would never want to brush my hair. I'd have the jeans, the big sweatshirt on. I loved playing softball, and I just was not a girly girl, which is okay. You don't need to be in pageants, but that wasn't something on my mind that I wanted to do. It actually took one of my friends growing up. I saw her competing in a local pageant, and I was actually able to follow her journey all the way to when she ended up winning a state title. And I was able to watch her perform at nationals. And I just thought, this is so cool to see how brave she is to get up on stage, how confident she is. And I want to challenge myself and to be more like that too. So that motivated me to push myself out of my comfort zone because I was never one to want to speak in front of the class. I would be terrified even to make friends or to step outside my bubble. So pageantry was something that helped tremendously with confidence, with speaking, and it immediately felt like the place for me because the idea of volunteering was something that I had done since I was a baby practically because my family were very involved with the Woket Lions Club. My late grandfather was a Woket Lions member, and he was known for leading Bob's Crew, which is a hot dog and hamburger booth we have at the Woket Fair. I know you've been there before one year as well. And that's such a special experience because since I was young and now every year, we raise money for student scholarships for our Woket High School students. And we do that by volunteering our time all weekend, flipping hot dogs and hamburgers, taking orders, and smelling like French fries for probably a week straight afterwards. But putting in that hard work and seeing it pay off and how it helps out students in the community, that type of volunteering just kind of came second nature to me. I just immediately saw the good it did and how it made me feel. So when I started pageantry, wanting to do appearances and talking about important topics like mental wellness, just immediately was something that I was so excited for and has been what has kept me competing for this long, which I'm so happy I have because then I was able to find the Miss Volunteer America pageant, and being Miss Connecticut Volunteer is such a full circle moment and has been a wonderful year so far because being a volunteer and being a role model for the state of Connecticut is a dream of mine that I have had as long as can remember. And finally having that chance to do that this year has been awesome.
I love that. That's so great. And yeah, I know you're so into volunteering. I feel like I only ever see you posting about you being somewhere, either giving a presentation or volunteering and doing something. But I love it. It's amazing. It's inspiring, honestly. And actually, like that year we spent together for co-ed
Mhm.
as sister queens was like so inspiring. Like I really like I always had kind of admired you beforehand because we
Oh.
had met, because our sisters are about the same age, so they used to compete against each other.
Mhm.
Because you are like this sort of like elegant, just very like intelligent, and you can just tell you have like a big heart. Like
Oh.
your mom and your sister, you're all great people. And then we got to like actually really know each other that year
Hmm.
as sister queens. We did a lot together,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my God, like I love this girl. She's amazing.
I know, like walking in our heels in the gym and like just talking about Twilight in our books that we're reading.
Not Twilight. Oh my God. Wait, I'll message you later
Okay.
because I feel like we gotta talk about things, but that's not the point.
But yeah, I think we connected in that way because we both really saw it more of a job and a responsibility
Mhm.
than just a title that you won that one day. It's really a commitment for both of us.
Yeah. And you know what? I feel like that's the aspect that is missing from like the outside looking in that we were
Hmm.
talking about before. That kind of, at least for me,
Hmm.
I put a lot of effort into making everything seem effortless.
Yeah.
Nothing is effortless. Everything takes time. Everything takes effort and some level of sacrifice. Like there's something else not getting done because I'm choosing to be wherever I am doing whatever I'm doing. And that's okay. I'm choosing to make those choices. It's my life. I get to spend it how I want, you know? And
Yeah.
I get to either be proud of those choices or be like, wow, yeah, that was kind of dumb. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But you know what? We live and we learn.
Hmm.
And I feel like that sort of that's what's missing, right? People don't understand, like they don't see us getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning so that we can get to the gym,
Hmm.
take care of our responsibilities, get to work or to school if you know, or make the time to volunteer, make the time to take care of ourselves, make the time to spend time with our loved ones, make the
Hmm.
time to stay current on what's going on, and then also prepping for a pageant or any other goal you may have. And
Hmm.
I can't remember, I know my mom says it all the time, but I've definitely, somebody else has said it on one of these episodes about like,
Hmm.
you have to have a why, you have to have a
Yeah.
purpose. There has to be something driving you. And I feel like I talk to my mom about this all the time. We know
Hmm.
so many people who get up, they go to work, they go home, they go to sleep, and then they repeat it all the next day.
Hmm.
And that's it. And I just couldn't live like that.
You
I
need
mean,
your
you
why,
obviously couldn't
right?
either.
I'm very fortunate too that my why ties in so perfectly with how I live my everyday life, why I do pageants, and what my career is. And I constantly think of my younger self and a lot of the mental health struggles I went through, and just not younger me couldn't imagine the person I am today. And I feel like I just want to give her a hug and tell her she's great and to keep going and it's worth it. And now getting to do that where I'm working with kids a lot of the time and getting to validate them and help support them, just that feeling is incredible. And I get to do that for work and I get to do that when I have my crown and sash on. So it's sometimes a little bit more glamorous in certain occasions, but it's still great. Um, and pageantry has, you know, motivated me, I think, to be more goal oriented and to always think, okay, what do I want to grow upon? What else do I want to see happen for myself in the next couple of years instead of kind of just settling into maybe that same routine.
And I feel like that's the secret sauce of pageantry,
Mhm.
right? You're competing against yourself.
Mhm.
You're trying to better yourself. Like, yeah, technically we're getting scored
Mhm.
against other people, but
Mhm.
you're the one in control of what you're presenting.
Right.
You're competing against yourself. If you want to be better, try to be better.
Mhm.
If you think, like there are things that like I've been competing a long time now. There are things that I still have not mastered. I have one arm that moves like crazy when I walk. And when I don't practice for a long time, I lose control over it.
Mhm.
And I figured out, and I don't know if you remember this from when we were practicing, I hold weights in my hands while I walk to help keep my arm down until I can like remember the muscle memory of, oh yeah, this is like the placement of where everything is supposed to sit,
Mhm.
and that makes a difference for me. And it's just sort of like, yeah, having that like drive, the wanting, the need to be working on whatever it is you're doing. I think that's so important, you know. Ugh, I can talk about that
I know.
forever. So tell me a bit about what you and Wings for Wellness have coming up, because I know there's a few things, and I think there's one even coming up this weekend, right? Or is it next weekend?
So, speaking of time management and self-care, I may have overbooked myself next week, but no, I'm very excited. I have a lot going on next week, and let me see, I got my calendar right here. I am going to be seeing one of my coaches, one of our sponsors, KP Consulting, this weekend. And then Sunday, I have blocked off to spend time with family for Easter. But next week, I have a couple things. But with Wings for Wellness, I actually met this woman who runs an art gallery in New Haven. This is very random, but super cool. And she also has her doctorate in psychology, I believe. And so they're doing this music and art event where they're raising money for the Boys and Girls Club. And she loved my butterfly vision and initiative because it ties in with some of the themes of the gallery, which actually includes like metamorphosis, transformation. So I'm going to get the opportunity to share more about Wings for Wellness and hopefully connect with some more youth as well, because I've been very fortunate to have a lot of opportunities to bring Wings for Wellness into classrooms, Girl Scout troops, like I mentioned. I've actually brought it to churches and have done it with a range of audiences from pre-K all the way to senior citizens. So any opportunity I can to network with people who are like-minded and share these values of mental health and supporting other people, I always jump for opportunities like that. And a lot of the things coming up, I feel like, are such niche and cool experiences that people recognize me because of how involved I am as Miss Connecticut Volunteer, the things I post and share on social media. So having this title has really opened up the opportunity for me to do so much more too. So you'll see some of that collaboration coming up next week. And then of course, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I've just got a ton going on with that. We have a fundraiser coming up. Each May is the NAMI Walk. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Taylor has participated with me in a lot of my fundraising efforts before, but I always lead a walk team for NAMI Connecticut. I now sit on the board of directors, so it's something that I get even more pumped up for and involved in. That walk itself is going to be on May 3rd at Walnut Park in New Britain. It's free to sign up and register, fundraise as much as you can, and it's a great day where we have ceremonies, tabling, and resources available for mental health. And then we just all unite together to help to end the stigma and talk about how important it is to have access to mental health resources. So a great event to help support, fundraise for if you can. And if you're looking for a fun form of self-care to do while also supporting NAMI, you can come over to my Zumba fundraiser I'm having on Sunday, April 27th. That's going to be at Steel Beach in Oakville, Connecticut. I can put more information about that in the comments, and I have a lot of information on my social media about it. But that is the gym I've been going to since January, and they have generously sponsored a space and instructor for us. So at 9:30 on the 27th, we're going to get together and do a fun Zumba class. Whether you're a member or not a member of the gym, it's going to be a fun time. Show up and wear your green or blue to support mental health. And that's just one of the ways we're going to be raising money while spreading awareness.
Okay, sign me up for both
Yeah.
of those, which is awesome. Can't wait. I'm really, okay, honestly, I love doing walks because I think they're great, and it's a wonderful way to like be outside, and that's important to me. But I love Zumba, like a little too much.
That's awesome then. Zumba is something I feel like everybody can do. You don't have to necessarily go to the gym all the time or be super into fitness to be able to do it. And it's a little bit out of my comfort zone too, because I am not a dancer. I laugh all the time when I have to do an opening number at a pageant because I'm like, I'm not coordinated, but I always manage to just pull through and do my best. So, same thing with this Zumba. We're just gonna have fun and wing it. You know, you don't have to be the best one there. We're just gonna have a great time.
Yeah, okay. I went to your CrossFit fundraiser last year, and I'm not a CrossFit person.
But you
And
did
it
it.
kicked my
You did
butt.
good.
Dude, it kicked my butt.
It does.
Yeah, CrossFit is intense. I think I can handle doing some Zumba a little bit better than CrossFit.
Might be able to socialize and talk a little bit more, not just dying the entire time.
And Lord, were we dying. I can't do
Mm-hmm.
burpees, man. I can do like one burpee singular.
Mm-hmm.
That is it.
But it was a great turnout. So a lot of people who had never done CrossFit before had shown up for that event, and it was great. And we weren't judging each other because we were like, whether you've been at CrossFit or not, you know, this is hard. So we're just gonna do our best.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was so much fun.
Mhm.
So much fun. So I'm really looking forward to your next couple of fundraisers. And okay, so let's circle back around to the connective tissue here, pageantry.
Mhm.
You're competing in June. So tell me a bit about the Miss Volunteer America system to begin with. And you've shared a lot about like your volunteer efforts throughout your reign as Miss Connecticut Volunteer,
Mhm.
but what are some of the more like glamorous sides of your reign so far?
Yeah, so if I were to give you like in the elevator speech, because I always get people asking, well, what does that mean? He says Connecticut Volunteer in your sash. And the Miss Volunteer America pageant, although new, it's fast growing. It's a service-based organization that provides scholarships for young women in the program, cash scholarships on the state level, and then I believe the winner of the national pageant last year received around $50,000,
Oh, wow.
but there were other scholarships also available just for community service too, or other preliminary awards available. So it is meant to help support your education, and they have an acronym called S.E.R.V.E that represents some of their core values. And I'll tell you quickly, S.E.R.V.E stands for scholarship, education, responsibility, volunteerism, and empowerment. And that kind of tells you a little bit about how it's really a well-rounded organization, how they're looking for somebody who can portray themselves and be confident in who they are on the outside, but also somebody who's really passionate and working hard towards their education, and they volunteer for something that's important to them. And I've been preparing since July, but once the winter hit and some of the Christmas appearances finally slowed down is really when I kicked it into gear with a lot of the on stage performance pieces. So I went to Giovanni in New York, which, for those of you who don't know, Giovanni is an incredible dress brand. And it was really cool getting to go into that store. I actually met the owner of the store and one of the Giovanni designers. So that was like a celebrity awe moment.
That's so
And
cool.
it was so cool. And I was able to try on dresses, and I found not only my evening gown, but my talent gown and my interview dress. And
Okay.
all of those, I feel like, just represent me and my personal style so well, but obviously a little bit more glam than my everyday, day to day wear. So that piece is all set. And then, of course, we have some great sponsors on the state level that have been helping me get ready too for this pageant. Like I mentioned, I've been working at Seal Beach, and I've been working with Coach Sly, and he's actually been sponsoring some of those sessions for me as well. The goal is to feel amazing when I step out there on that stage.
Mhm.
And what I love about working with him too is he was like, I'm not telling you to lose weight. I don't care like what the number on the scale says. When you get up there on stage, I want you to feel like I look amazing and I feel great about myself. So that's like the purpose of the swimsuit phase of competition that people don't always understand, because they just see people getting up there in a bikini and they assume you may have to look a certain way, but that's not the case at all. So you'll see me feeling my best self and very confident rocking my swimsuit in June and wearing my evening gown from Giovanni, which is very elegant and a classy part of the competition where you're just up there and you're like, this is the gown. This is my Miss Volunteer America moment right here, stepping on the stage. And then talent as well, of course. I've been singing throughout my entire time in pageantry, and I'm working with my cousin and also my friend Stacy, who I actually was a student for growing up, and I also worked for her studio for a time. So I'm bringing all these people to have a really good support system behind me. And the song, which I won't share just yet, but it is one that kind of captures how emotional it is to come to this full circle moment of being on the national stage and all the work I've done for myself and my service initiative over the years. So those are most of the phases of competition. I know they're all equally weighted. So when I go there, it'll be a week long of activities, preliminary competitions, rehearsals. But to sum it up, the main parts of the competition are our interview, which is almost 10 minutes long, and that's with the judges where they want to hear all about you, why you're a good role model, and why should we pick you to be the Miss Volunteer America. And after that, the rest of the things people will get to see on stage. So like I mentioned, that evening wear, that talent, swimsuit, and then also an on-stage question. So all these different things, as you can imagine, require different types of preparation. So I've definitely been maximizing my time in order to do that. Just so when I step on that stage, I know I've done all that I could and that I feel great and don't have any regrets looking back at it.
Absolutely. And it's going
Yeah.
to be in Tennessee, right? You said?
Yep, Jackson, Tennessee. So I have to fly, I think, into Memphis, and then we take a shuttle to Jackson. I actually was able to visit Jackson back in March to watch Jada Lynn, the Miss Connecticut Teen Volunteer, compete, who made top 10 and was amazing. But I got to go and meet some of the state title holders there. They held a Derby themed brunch for us, and I wore a hat that was Connecticut themed, and I did Yukon, so I had a little Yukon Husky on the hat, but it just made me feel even more confident in my decision to become a part of the organization because all the girls were so motivated, so friendly, and I had a great time. So I know I'm going to have a great time when I go back to compete now for a full week in June.
That's the thing about pageantry, isn't it? Just being surrounded by so many like-minded,
Mm-hmm.
equally, I don't want to say just motivated. I feel like that doesn't even encapsulate
Mm-hmm.
the people that we're spending, that we get to spend so much time around because you're right, it is a week and I'll be competing for a week
Mm-hmm.
also back in July. But it feels like months worth of
Mm-hmm.
time pass by in that
Yeah.
week. And at the end of the week, you're like, I can't believe I have to say goodbye to these people. Like being around them just makes me better. It's so
Mm-hmm.
motivating. You hear all these ideas and you're like, you know what? That's brilliant. Why have I never even considered that? That was the thing I was missing. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's a breath of fresh air.
I know, and it's not all like competition and seriousness, which people don't get to see either. We have a Snapchat group chat now, the misses who are competing for Miss Volunteer America that we created after seeing each other at the team pageant. And it's so funny because the topics will be so non-pageant related, but we'll also have the most wholesome conversations too. We actually, and this is funny, we actually talked about self-care the other day. Everyone's sharing their ideas and their forms of self-care, not just for the pageant, but some people are in school, some people are going through big life changes
Yeah.
or, balancing full-time jobs. And so we'll have those conversations. Sometimes we'll talk about what's your favorite go-to snack when you're on the road. Um, what kind of caffeine do you have? Because we're all very busy and drink a lot of caffeine. But that's just the part of it that I've also grown to love because it's like we made it. We're going and we're representatives of this organization, and now we're just gonna go have a great time together in June.
Absolutely. Competition week is like, yes, it's the pinnacle of all the
Mhm.
effort, but it's also like at that point, there's nothing else you can do. You have to just enjoy yourself. Like, you
Hmm.
know, take care of yourself. Gotta get
Hmm.
enough sleep, as much sleep as you can. You know, bring
Not
that,
a lot.
bring some icy hot for your feet, the band-aids, you know, do what you gotta do. We all do some crazy stuff to get through pageant week. But
Mhm.
you know, you're right, you just have a good time. You just make such a good bond with these people. And there's people that you'll talk to for the rest of your life, like
Mhm.
people you'll know for the rest of your life. And it's just, I love it. I mean, I think it's great. I feel like I have more friends through pageants than I do through anything else I've done.
I would say so, absolutely. I have two friends getting married this year that both I kind of got to know closer through pageants, which is insane. And I specifically, when we competed together years back at co-ed, I don't remember the week super well, but I do remember us getting some fresh air, and it was probably like midnight outside the hotel, and there was like a
Oh
cat,
my
and
God, yes!
just like you do, like you get what you put into the experience, and you've got to have
Yeah,
fun and use it as an opportunity to get to know people too, because odds are you have things in common if you're all there.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. And that is the key, isn't it? Being all there. I
Hmm.
feel like that ties back into the idea of like being one of those people kind of like on the wheel where you just like go to work, go home, go to work, go home. It's like you're not fully invested in this experience. And
Hmm.
being a pageant person, a student, a social worker, a person, that is an
Hmm.
experience. It's like, why wouldn't you try to have the best time possible and be fully invested in like, you know, I say that, but I'm also the girl that keeps a monopod in my purse because yeah, I'm going to take pictures while
Hmm.
I'm out, but I'm going to take those
Right.
pictures and then I'm gonna have a good time.
Right. You gotta get the social media content, but it's not the whole time that you're there, right? You capture some of those moments so that you can really just, then put the phone down and be involved in the experience to the best you can, because once that week's over, it's over, right? And
Yeah,
then we're gonna be missing the experience after that and looking back on all those memories.
absolutely. And like you're always exhausted at the end of pageant week, and by the time you get home, right, you're just like, I could sleep for 2 weeks straight and it wouldn't be enough. But you're
Yeah.
right, you do miss that.
Hmm.
And even if you just go do a pageant weekend, whether you're just volunteering or you're, you know, like visiting or you're judging a pageant or what have you,
Hmm.
going back to real life afterwards, it gets harder
Hmm.
and harder for me. I'm like, this is so like it's like in The Wizard of Oz when it goes from sepia to color. And it's just like, how could anybody leave the in
Hmm.
color world once you see that there's so much out there? There's so much to experience, there's so much to do. Like you brought up trying volleyball
Hmm.
for as your new activity. I started learning how to surf a couple of years ago, but last year I got myself a surf skate, which is like a skateboard, but it moves like a surfboard so I can practice on land. So now I'm learning how to skateboard. It's like, why
Cool.
wouldn't you take I'm not good at it. My sister Molly has been trying to teach me how to skateboard since for way longer than I should admit, you know, and I'm not good, but I enjoy it. I'm not good at surfing, but I enjoy it, you know. I'm like, I can't sing, but I do it when I'm in my car. It's
Hmm.
like, why not have that fun?
Yeah. Self-care.
Self-care, self-care, exactly. Like I say all the time, if you're not laughing, you're not living your life.
Hmm.
Because it's so true. Like you should be having as much fun as possible. Like obviously there are moments that you have to be more serious and you have to take things seriously and you have to do a good job and put a lot of effort in. But I feel like this ties back into that thing that I was saying before about like I put a lot of effort into making the effort look effortless. And like
Right.
only some people have to deal with what I'm like when I'm in that like deep creative process when I'm really trying to work through a situation because I
Hmm.
don't feel like everybody needs to like be a part of that experience. It's not fair to anyone involved, you know? It's like, but
Mhm.
I get through that creative sort of turmoil
Mhm.
and something amazing comes out. I just needed time to, as the kids say, let it cook.
Yeah. And that's why you put in that work over the years or the months leading up to this big
Yeah.
moment so that once you do get there, you're not stressing, oh, should I change anything now? Or am I gonna, am I ready for this? It's just you're preparing for arriving there, basically. And like you said, at that point, there's nothing else you could do except just like taking care of yourself that week and having the right mindset going into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And mindset is
Hmm.
everything. Everything. Because if you, like, you really have to walk in thinking that you are already the winner. Like,
Hmm.
you really have to. One, because it kind of helps you with the, like, fake it till you make it of exuding that confidence. But, like, you can't be that sort of, like, I don't want to say you can't be a wallflower because there's always a wallflower and there's nothing wrong with being a wallflower if that is who you are. But, like, there's some pageants where you can just, as soon as she walks in, you can see, okay, well, that's the winner. And the
Hmm.
competition hasn't even happened yet. But
Yeah.
sometimes you can just see her because she has that mindset.
Hmm.
And you can tell, like you're saying, she's prepped everything that she
Hmm.
can. She's not worried about the last minute details of should these shoes go with that dress or these earrings with that shirt. No, it's
Hmm.
set. Everything is labeled and like set out or whatever her process is. But like she's there to have a good time, to make the
Hmm.
most of her experience and, leave it all on the stage.
Hmm. And those are the people that you're usually like, oh, they were super nice too, right? Because they're not comparing themselves to other people or, um, you know, tr trying to make anyone feel less than because they're just showing up as themselves and feeling secure with what they're going to leave on the stage.
Mhm. And so much of that comes from just being authentically yourself
Hmm.
and feeling comfortable enough in who you are and what makes you you to just be yourself when you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Self-care.
Self-care.
All right. I personally do not have any more questions, but is there anything else that you would like people to know or any sort of upcoming events that you've got going on that you want people to know about?
Well, first of all, thank you. Again, I love the idea of focusing on self-care because it is such an important topic. Ties in really perfectly with mental health too. And I would say for the people watching, you probably are involved in pageants if you're following us, but if not, I would say take this as your opportunity to give yourself a chance to learn a little bit more or ask some questions. I know for Miss Connecticut Volunteer, we are accepting contestants, and our state pageant will be in July. So, as much as I'm excited for myself to go to nationals, I've also been pumped for our class of local title holders who are preparing to take over my job and Jada Lynn's job. And I've been actually having my own meetings with them, just working on that theme of empowerment and self care. So if you're interested in getting started somewhere, send me a message because I get so excited about helping others get excited for this journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And likewise, if there's anybody watching who maybe is interested in trying a pageant and maybe just wants to learn a little bit more, maybe you haven't picked a specific pageant you're interested in yet, I would absolutely be happy to help sort of point you in the right direction. I'm sure Serena, you would as well be happy to pass on some of the hard-earned wisdom that we have.
Yes.
Thank you so, 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 so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come on here and share your amazing and very important work with me and with everybody who is watching. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And thank you. I mean, it's an honor to be a guest, and we'll have to catch up and do something non-pageant related sometime
Yeah,
soon.
we should try hanging out as real life people.
We'll do that.
All right, love. I will see you soon. Sign me up for the NAMI walk and for Zumba, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Okay. Thank Thank you.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so glad that we got to talk to Serena, not only because I personally adore her, but because what she does is very important. And she's right, talking about self-care and talking about taking care of our mental health is something that, especially right now, we're kind of lacking as a society. So, make sure you check in on your friends and your loved ones and just see how they're doing. Just say, hey, I was thinking about you. It goes a lot farther than it seems like it would. With that, I'm going to say thank you for tuning in. Have a good night. So excited to be back next month to talk with our next guest. Until then, remember to slay. Bye, guys.